Now, granted, if they were doing things like these Chevy Bolts, freaking don't even get me started. If you have any other EV that's not a Tesla, don't even bother. All right, so our top story of the day is Hertz CEO resigns after EV push goes bust. So I want to play this quick video here from Fox Business. This right here is exactly why whenever I see the whole progressive, like, hey, let me track how you drive and we'll insure you, is why I'll never do that, right? Just imagine, right? Just imagine you need to pass somebody. So you're going from like 65 to 75 and then back to 65 or whatever the case is, right? Yeah, you were speeding for a moment while you passed that person. And now they're going to hold that against you, right? They're going to say you are a reckless driver because you were speeding. No, don't do that. Don't do that against me. Or they're going to look in that data to find if you were doing any possible thing that could have been construed as illegal, right? Maybe you're going 66 and a 65, and they're going to say, bro, you were being illegal in this moment. We're not going to cover you in this accident you had. But either way, this video did not do the justice that I thought it was going to do. I thought they were going to be talking about the EVs. I swear I was just watching this video. Well, I'll tell you one government subsidy that absolutely worked for me was the $7,500 tax credit. So I got a tax refund for the first time in years because I bought a Tesla last year. And I was like, okay, that's pretty sweet. I do too. But there are some idiosyncrasies about EVs that gas-powered drivers don't know about. So for example, I just drove my Tesla Model Y to Disney World last week, and it was a 2,400 mile round trip. First time I've ever taken a Tesla road trip, and I purposely took on this challenge because I wanted to see how it would be. And it was great. It was smooth. In fact, my family and I, we would have a competition basically, and they whenever you charge an EV, you don't have to plug in your car, right? You literally, or I'm sorry, not plug in. You don't have to tap your card on the thing. You don't have to scan your card at all. So you just pull into the spot and then plug it in. There's nothing in between those two things. So we would see just how quickly I could start charging the car. I got down to 6 seconds from the time I pushed the button to put it in park, got out of the car, plugged in the car, 6 seconds, right? And you're probably thinking, oh, geez, but you're still, going to be there for 2 hours or whatever charging. No, bro. The longest one I had was 25 minutes. And you're probably thinking 25 minutes, that's crazy. By the time you get out, stretch your legs, run and use the restroom, grab a drink, come back to the car, that's 17 minutes already. And then, so it's just another 8 on top of that. It's really, really not that bad. And most of the time there were plenty of things to do, right? There were shops, there were gas stations, there were food places, whatever. There's things to do around all these chargers. So that made it really nice. So that was my first experience with my Tesla road trip. But preparing for this, there was a lot of preparing for this, right? I kind of obsessively planned out which route I was going to go. I live in Texas and we're going to Disney World, like I said. So one route was going through Texas, through the top of Louisiana, through the middle of Mississippi, and down into Florida. And going that route, there was one charger in that like 45-degree angle southwest or southeast through Mississippi. And I was not going to take that route because if there's just one charger on that route, just one, and for some reason that charger's down, then our whole trip is screwed, right? So I elected to go the other route, which was down through New Orleans and over. And that was fine. There were chargers everywhere. And one thing that I learned was that if you're driving at 70 miles an hour, right, you're using, an appropriate amount of battery of charge. If you drive at 80, use 20% more, right? You're going to get to your destination 6 minutes faster, but you've used up 20% more of the battery during that time. So if your battery is going to be, let's just use some round numbers here, 100 kilowatts. I literally don't know. That's beyond my skills. Let's say if it's 100 kilowatts to drive, a full tank of gas, full tank of electricity, it costs you 120, right? Now, electricity is cheap, so it's not that big a deal. But it's the fact that now you've added that much more charging time and you've reduced your range by 20%. That's where EV renters don't get it, right? They don't get it. I had somebody tell me the other day, they were like, oh, this person took a road trip in an EV and they had to stop, 10 times and they charged up so much that it would have cost them even less if they had drove a gas car. They were probably driving like 90, right? If you're driving the speed limit, your electric vehicle should compensate for that and tell you how far you can go, right? But if you're driving 80, that's 20% more battery usage that you didn't plan on. Driving 90, it's probably 40% more battery usage that you didn't plan on. And yeah, you're going to run out of battery a lot faster. So on my road trip, dude, I was sitting between 65 and 72 the whole way. Anytime they were like 18 wheelers, I just draft up behind them. And it was not that big a deal, right? I got to where I was going, had no issues. And honestly, it was a good time. My family would stop, we'd throw the frisbee around every time we'd take a little break. And so for me personally, the Tesla road trip was great. However, for the uneducated, right, for those who are just renting one just to see how it goes, I can imagine that it'd be a pain in the backside, right? Because you're expecting this to be the coolest thing. And then the next thing you know, you're having to charge up way more than you thought. You're having to charge up way longer, way more often. And you're like, man, I just wanted to drive this car the way I would drive any other car. So yeah, I can imagine that this was a big problem here for Hertz. Its investment in EVs as part of the president's agenda made an aggressive push to broadly electrify the transportation sector as part of his climate agenda. Hertz announced that its biggest quarterly loss since 2020. I don't know what that's doing. After its decision to pivot away from EVs. Now, granted, if they were doing things like these Chevy Bolts, freaking don't even get me started. If you have any other EV that's not a Tesla, don't even bother. Don't even bother. Any other EV that is not a Tesla should not be bought. Period. Full stop. Teslas are the best. Like the whole system has been built out for like close to 20 years at this point. And then the charging infrastructure, which is what I used, zero issues. I plugged in and it went. There was no problem whatsoever. Not once. Well, no, let me take that back. Once there was one stall I plugged into that was charging slow. And so I moved over to the next stall and it was just fine. That was it. And that was just a fluke, right? I don't know how many times I charged, but never, not once did I have an issue. The killer Sintra says, any idiot that's renting a Camry for $300 a day deserves to be fired. It's not a Ferrari. Yeah, exactly. So let's take a look at what the AI trading data has to say about Expedia, right? If you're going to be renting a car, maybe you're going out to Expedia to find, right, your next rental car. So we actually got a buy signal on January 29th. So that was the last buy signal here. And following these signal returns, we would have seen a 49.79% return following these outlier signals. So that's pretty sweet, right? So if you are interested in looking at Expedia as a company, buy signal just happened a few weeks ago. Maybe now's the time to get into it. And let's take a look at what the internet is saying about this, right? Hertz CEO resigns after a big bet on EVs goes bust, right? If they were all Teslas, they'd have done better. I don't know if they were all Teslas, but if they were, they'd have been okay. Who the hell wants to charge a car? Nobody. Dude, I charge a car every night. It's awesome. You don't even know. Bro, listen. My wife actually drives the Tesla more than I do. I drive her old Lexus. It's not old. Her Lexus SUV. I call it old because it's like a dinosaur. That's how we describe it in our house. We have the electric car and we have a dinosaur. And so her Lexus SUV, like I feel like I'm always at the gas station. It sucks, right? Every time like I turn around, I'm driving it to the gas station, spending $58, $68 to fill up with premium, right? Heck, can't be regular gas, has to be premium. And yeah, it's so much easier to pull in, stick the plugger, stick the charger straight in the car every night. That's so much easier. You do not understand, Gersey Sal. You legit don't know. It is so much easier. At least they made Elon richer, so there's that. Yeah, freaking sweet. Go Elon. I'm sure the severance package is lucrative and he'll have EVs to drive as a reminder of how he'll never I don't even know. Not surprised EVs don't sell. Dude, what are you talking about? The Model Y was the greatest selling car in the world, and it wasn't even close. Tesla is its own jam. That's what I feel about, right? A lot of people, like the people who are hating on EVs, they've never owned one. They never experienced one. But if they have and they're still hating on it, it's because they didn't have a Tesla. You should also pay attention because YouTube's showing you 2 videos right here. Click one of them. It wants you to watch more. And thank you so much for tuning in today's Outlier Live. See you on the next episode.